Alright, so today I want to give you an update on my ball python hatchlings that I have in my hatchling rack. I actually have 16 in the rack so far, doing pretty good here for 2020. As a matter of fact, I actually had just cut open some eggs in the incubator, and those were another 8 hatchlings. And then I have another, I think I have another box with like 8 or 10 eggs in the incubator, and then I should have another pied female that'll lay, so I should have a pretty good year. But I kind of wanted to give you an update just on these 16 hatchlings. And as a matter of fact, I actually went through and I've been feeding some of the initial meals on some of these, which can be really tricky with ball pythons. And so far it looks like I actually have 3 of them that haven't eaten yet, and maybe 2 of those 3 may need to be assist fed, which is always tricky. I might save that for another video. As a matter of fact, yeah, I actually have an assist feeding video, and some people freak out on that one where you have to actually kind of, you know, assist feed the ball python. That's pretty much the only time you assist feed. If you hatch out a hatchling and it's super small, really an undersized hatchling, usually the undersized, really super skinny ones need to be assist fed. And let me tell you, the first time I assist fed, it was kind of a tricky experience, not something that you really want to experience if you're dealing with ball python hatchlings. So I'm going to jump over and I want to show you these 16 hatchlings. We'll just pull them out and I'll just quickly go through them. Maybe I'll tell you how many meals they've eaten, give you their names and genetics, and just kind of check on the update of all these hatchlings. Alright, so take a look at this one. This is the star of my collection right here. This is the first time I actually ever hatched out a visual desert ghost. Take a look at this beauty. This one is FANG. FANG is a super pastel desert ghost. As a matter of fact, FANG has eaten 8 meals already. Pretty crazy. He's really doing really well, eating really well. As a matter of fact, someone actually saw one of my videos with FANG, and they actually offered me $1,500 for this guy, and I was like, I need to really keep this one. This is a female, and I have a whole bunch of normal females. I gotta get rid of my normals, and I actually have a bunch of normals, some pastels, some lemon blasts, and I definitely want to upgrade them with some desert ghost stuff and some pieds and some more higher end stuff. And this guy is absolutely stunning. Just look at the color and the pattern on this guy. Really crazy looking snake. She is doing really fantastic. Alright, so take a look at this one. This is Snuggles. Snuggles is a female. This is a female ENCHI, 100% het desert ghost. So this carries 1 copy of the desert ghost gene. And kind of my favorite combos is when you mix pastel or super pastel into the desert ghost. You can get some really crazy combinations. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to sell this one or if I'm going to hold on to it. It's probably, you know, 1 level above a normal. You got the ENCHI in there, and I can make some really cool desert ghost combos. I may hold on to all these, but I haven't quite decided. You know, it's kind of weird, you know, you get to the end of the year and you have, you know, 20 whole packs and you're like, I don't have that many racks, I gotta unload something. So you gotta figure out if you're gonna expand or if you're gonna sell some or exactly what you're gonna do. But this girl, it looks like she's going into her 2nd shed, which is pretty awesome. You can see she's just a little bit browned out. Pretty awesome little snake. Alright, so take a look at this little girl. This girl's name is Rusty. Rusty is a pastel, 100% het desert ghost. I was wondering if she actually had some calico in there, maybe a really low expression calico. It's really hard to tell. I'd probably sell her as a possible calico. It's kind of interesting. She has a little bit of flaming, looks like, coming up the sides. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. Really beautiful. As a matter of fact, this one just shed, and look at how big and chunky she is compared to the other ones. I think this one was getting the bigger mice during the feedings versus the other ones. Sometimes they can really have a different growth rate depending on kind of what the mice that I have available in my rodent rack. Look at how beautiful that one is. So cute. That is pretty awesome. And sometimes these pastels can be a little bit browned out, and sometimes they can be like a really super bright yellow. I'd say this one's pretty bright, not too bad. And you can definitely tell the pattern is reduced. As a matter of fact, this one might have ENCHI in the mix. Look at how it's kind of, I don't know, it might be, actually I had ENCHI and calico in the mix. I don't know if that's ENCHI in there or not. Sometimes the pastels can be really reduced, but what I'd probably do is just sell this as a regular pastel, and then probably, as a matter of fact, I might actually hold on to this one. I don't know. This is actually 100% 100% het desert ghost. But if I was to sell it, sometimes on those jeans that you're kind of not sure of, you know, sometimes you put a question mark. The more I look at it, I don't really think it's ENCHI, although this looks kind of ENCHI-like right here. It can kind of trick you with some of these pastels, because sometimes the pastels can be really reduced. That is a pretty awesome snake. Alright, so take a look at this little ball of a snake. This one we named SPOCK. And SPOCK is a super pastel. So essentially this is the super pastel. It's actually het for Desert Ghost, so it didn't get 2 copies of the Desert Ghost, so it's not a visual. And quite a big difference between the 1 copy of the Desert Ghost and 2 copies. And look at how faded out the head is on this one. Pretty awesome little guy. That is really quite an amazing thing. As a matter of fact, this one is going into shed. This one also ate 7 meals, getting nice and big and chunky. Alright, so take a look at this one squirming away like crazy. This one we named Freckles. Take a look at that beauty. Freckles is a super pastel calico, 100% het desert ghost female. Pretty awesome. This is definitely going to be one of my holdbacks. So if you actually bred a desert ghost to this, you could actually get, you know, like the super pastel desert ghost, like I showed you the very first snake, which has a lot of potential working, you know, just 1 copy of the desert ghost. And it's kind of interesting how you work the calico into some of these, and you get a really kind of a faded out pattern, and it usually gets like brighter and more contrast as it ages and matures. Looks better and better as it ages, usually with the calico in it. As a matter of fact, someone was actually saying that they thought this had ENCHI in it because of the way the pattern kind of pinched on the back of the head, which I thought was kind of an interesting indicator, looking kind of at the head stamp to figure out the genes in here. So this one could have ENCHI in the mix, which is pretty awesome. Alright, so this one we named Dusty, and Dusty has ENCHI in it for sure. As a matter of fact, this is pretty much exactly the same as the last one. This is a super pastel calico, 100% het desert ghost female with the ENCHI in the mix. And you can definitely tell the kind of the pattern reduction of the ENCHI almost brings it down into tiger stripes. Sometimes it's really obvious, and if you kind of look at the back of the head on this one, it kind of pinches in the back of the head, which, hey, I'm starting to get, you know, a little bit better at looking at the little pattern right on the back of the head to identify ENCHI, which is pretty awesome. And usually on these guys, they have a pretty clear belly. And Dusty here, she actually ate 8 rodents. She's 1 rodent ahead of most of the other ones. Really good looking snake. Alright, so take a look at this one. This one we named Peanut. Peanut is normal. This is from the second clutch. So these hatched out a little bit later than the first ones. These have only had 2 meals. So this one's eaten twice, which is the maximum number of rodents that I actually fed these so far. And some of them have eaten both, some of them have eaten 1, and some of them are just like a week and a half without eating anything. Usually like in the 5th or 6th week, if they don't eat anything by then, or if they're really super small, I'll definitely consider assist feeding. And this one is, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you can actually tell from the belly on the het desert ghost, not that I can actually tell, but this one has a kind of an interesting belly pattern. Take a look at that. It's got some checkering and some wild stuff on the belly. So this one is possible het desert ghost, because the male that actually produced this was 50% het desert ghost. So until we actually prove that male out to be either 100% or 0%, there's a 50% chance. So that means this one could possibly have the 1 copy of the desert ghost gene. So, you know, the further diluted it gets, the further it gets, you know, kind of, you know, your chances get less and less the further you breed these out. And it gets to the point where sometimes you can have some genes in there that if you actually bred this one to something else, sometimes you'll just forget about the desert ghost, and then, you know, years down the road you just pop out a desert ghost and you're like, where in the world did this desert ghost come from? And I've actually had that happen in my collection. That is a really good looking snake. So here is Bobble, and Bobble is another normal possible het desert ghost from my second clutch. And I haven't actually figured out the males and the females on these yet. Usually I wait till about 4 or 5 meals and then probe them with the metal probe in their vent to figure out the males and the females. You know, sometimes some people actually pop the hemipines, but I prefer to use the probe method. So this is just another normal, really good looking normal. All right, so here is Slippy. I thought Slippy was gonna bite me. That's like kind of freaked out when I grabbed him. And this one, we don't know if it's a male or female. The first two from this clutch that I showed you, they both had 2 rodents. And Slippy here, this one's only had 1 so far, so 1 rodent behind. And sometimes it can be, you know, kind of tricky, you know, trying to feed them their very first meals. Sometimes they can lag behind a little bit. Sometimes they get a few more meals. This one's actually a pastel, possible het desert ghost. So take a look at this crazy snake. This is Joker. Joker is a pastel calico. Look at how beautiful that is. And this one, believe it or not, this one hasn't had a single meal yet. Still has some pretty good body condition. So this one, you know, having pretty good body condition, I probably wouldn't even consider assist feeding this one until it was, you know, maybe 6 weeks behind. And usually sometimes they kind of miss the first couple meals and then they kind of catch up a little bit later on. Sometimes I can actually kind of double up on the rodents and catch them up kind of midweek as I'm feeding the other ones and kind of catch them up that way. But usually if they have a pretty good body condition, they will usually take a rodent sooner or later. If they're really super skinny, then you usually have to assist feed. This one is a pastel calico, possible het desert ghost. All right, so here is Jeeves. Jeeves is a normal, and this guy actually ate both rodents both time I fed him. It's kind of funny. It seems like the normals have a really good appetite, and the bamboos. It seems like the bamboos usually, as a matter of fact, well, I actually have a bamboo calico that hasn't eaten anything. I'm actually coming up to that one. It's kind of weird. It seems like the calicos are kind of lagging behind, and sometimes certain genes can be a little bit more picky or a little bit more aggressive when they're feeding. Hopefully the calico is not going to be a problem. It seems like I have a couple calicos that are a little bit stubborn to start with. It seems like the clowns are really aggressive eaters, which is kind of interesting. So this guy's just a normal, possible het desert ghost. So here is Zucchini. Zucchini is a normal, a possible het desert ghost. I haven't figured out the males and females. This is still my second clutch on these guys. Looking pretty good. All right, so this one's named Spaghetti. You guys actually picked out most of these names, so that is pretty awesome. Spaghetti is a pastel, possible het desert ghost. This one ate 2 rodents already, doing really good on my second clutch. Really off to a good start. All right, so take a look at this one. This one we named Umbilicus. This is the first time I had an umbilical cord problem with one of my things. This guy almost died. He was all wrapped up about halfway. And as a matter of fact, he was like upside down in the egg box. There's another one right next to him. Both of them were wrapped up. One of them actually died. And this is the first time I tried to rescue one with an umbilical cord problem. Let me tell you, I learned a lot from that one. As a matter of fact, and the weird thing about this one is if you look at the pattern on the side of the snake, take a look at that. It almost looks like a really low expression calico. So as a matter of fact, I was kind of looking at the colors. It almost looks like a normal, but then kind of the pattern on the side kind of threw me off. So I'm thinking this is a really low expression calico. So take a look at this beauty. This is my only bamboo out of that whole clutch. I actually had 10 eggs and I only hit 1 bamboo. What are the bad odds on that one? And I was actually shooting for a whole bunch more bamboos. This is a bamboo calico, possible pastel bamboo calico. Hopefully pastel's in the mix. That's kind of what I was shooting for. Let me tell you, when these age and mature, they get really super white on the sides. They look really awesome. And the weird thing about this is this hasn't eaten a single meal since it hatched, so it's kind of unusual for a bamboo to actually not eat anything. He's I don't know what he's doing. This one always kind of has his head perked up. It's kind of an interesting anomaly on this snake. And usually with the bamboos, they can be really variable. And this one, you can definitely tell the calico is in there because of the really reduced pattern on the side. Let me tell you that once these age and mature, they look really spectacular. All right, so take a look at this one. We named this one Lucky. Look at how small Lucky is, super small. Lucky is a pastel spider pied, possible yellow belly. And as a matter of fact, I was actually looking back at some of the footage where we cut this one out of the egg. This one was kind of wrapped up in the umbilical cord, and then his tail was stuck in this big mass. in the kind of in the egg, and I was thinking maybe it was actually a twin in there that had died. Maybe this was a twin, and maybe that's why it's so small, which is kind of crazy. And a snake like this, I've actually hatched out a couple albinos. Look at how skinny that is, like a pencil. That is crazy. That's like the world's smallest ball python. It is insane. And usually with a snake like this, you actually have to assist feed them, usually like 4 or 5 times until they're the size of a regular hatchling coming out of an egg. So sometimes it's pretty tricky to keep these guys going, and since I've done it before, I'm pretty confident. I'm 99% confident that I can actually keep this guy going. Usually, you know, the initial part coming out of the egg, that is kind of the tricky part, but if you can actually keep him alive to this point, I'm pretty sure I can actually keep this guy going with some assist feeding. Alright, so there you have it. That's the update on my 16 ball python hatchlings. Pretty exciting. And let me tell you, looking at hatchlings never gets old. It's pretty awesome. And it's the kind of the cool thing about breeding ball pythons is every single year you have new combinations that you've never produced before. So sometimes you're scratching your head thinking, is this the right genetics for the snake? Sometimes it can be pretty challenging trying to figure out what genes are in your ball pythons. And I'm pretty much 99% sure most of these genes. As a matter of fact, I actually have some more eggs that we cut open yesterday, and I'm hoping tomorrow we can actually look in those and pull those out. I think it's another 8 eggs, and we had some really cool combinations with the calico and the bamboo and a pinstripe and pastel all in the same clutch. Pretty awesome. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.